Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of the Butterfly Mansion podcast. In this episode, we are going to be covering Demon Slayer Volume 2. Before I get started with my normal intro, I wanted to let you guys know that I will be adding one new thing to this podcast, and that is a kill count. So for every character that kills a demon, it's going to be tallied, and that'll be some fun info to see once we complete the series. There will be no partial points rewarded. The kill goes to the person who dealt the final blow. I thought that this will be a fun little add-on because I don't think anyone's really done a kill counter for every character in the series. I will literally create a spreadsheet and add to it chapter by chapter. So based off the contents of episode 1, which contained volume 1, we've seen Tanjiro kill 2 demons upon entering the final selection, and nobody will get the kill for the temple demon as he died from just the sunlight. Tanjiro's axe did technically hold him down, but that's not what killed him. It was the sun. So with that said, I'm going to get into the intro, and then we'll get started with this episode. Welcome to the Butterfly Mansion, a place of healing, training, and is a nice peaceful place to read some manga. Hi, I'm Guard Champion, the podcast Hashra. In this podcast series, I will be breaking down Demon Slayer, one book at a time, until the series is completed. Things to expect in each episode is a detailed breakdown of each chapter, then commentary on the subject material. If at any point you enjoy this podcast, feel free to leave a like or subscribe. So right on the cover, we have Tanjiro holding his sword, and then a man who looks like Michael Jackson, showing his claws. Who is this man? We will find out soon. So right when we open up the book, we get an image of a man and a woman. Who these are, we have no idea yet. We also get some character bios for Giyu, Urokodaki, Tanjiro, Nezuko, Sabito, Makimo, as well as some generic information about the Demon Slayer Corps and demons as well. We also get a short version of what the story is about. I assume that this is for people who just either need a refresher or if you just happen to pick up the manga and you kind of want to know what the story is about. For this volume, we will be covering chapters 8 through 16. Chapter 8, Big Brother. With the end of chapter 7, we get Tanjiro in mid-air as he's about to strike the hand demon. Now in chapter 8, as Tanjiro descends, the hand demon recognizes the same sound, and he knows that he has heard it before. It shows him as a flashback when he just turned into a demon, and he realizes that the sound Tanjiro is making is similar to one that Urokodaki made. And here we see a young black-haired Urokodaki in the same striking pose as Tanjiro. Tanjiro slashes, lands, and then on the ground lies the hand demon's head. He's cursing Tanjiro, realizing that his body is crumbling away and that he cannot stop it. And as he's crumbling away, he's worried that Tanjiro will look at him as if he is unclean. He's scared to close his eyes, but he cannot change where his head is pointing, which is right at Tanjiro. And the last thing he will see is the demon hunter's face. How did this happen? Says the hand demon. Goes to a flashback of when he was a human. I'm scared. I'm alone in the night. Hold my hand the way you used to. Why did I bite my brother and kill him? Who is my big brother? A flashback from the hand demon's past. As he's reminiscing, Tanjiro approaches him, standing there, looking at his hand, reaching out. Tanjiro smells sadness. He grabs the hand demon's hand and holds it. Please, God, when he is reborn, don't let him become a demon. Please. Continues the hand demon's flashback. Please, please hold my hand. And the brother saying, well, if I have to, you're such a scaredy cat. And then he completely fades away. Tanjiro first thinks of Sabito and Makimo and the other children that the hand demon has killed. He thinks that they all became spirits and returned to their home on Mount Sagiri. Tanjiro also realizes that if he died, his spirit might have returned to Nezuko and Urokodaki as well. The next panel, the sun comes up and 7 days have passed. We get the final selection twins saying, welcome back, congratulations, and I'm glad that you are safe. There are only 4 that made it out of this test, out of nearly 20. Tanjiro saddened because he lost consciousness for a little while, and the person he tried to save from the hand demon originally, he could not save him. Which is kind of obvious because there's only 4 people that survived, and I'm about to get to who passed. Obviously, we have Tanjiro. We see the girl again with black hair, empty stare, and a butterfly. We get the yellow-haired boy with the triangles on his haori saying, die, I'm gonna die, 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 die. Even though I survived here, in the end, I'm probably gonna die. Then the boy with the mohawk and the scar on his face. So, what am I supposed to do now? Where is my katana? The white-haired guide says that they're going to provide uniforms. They just need to take their measurements and engrave their ranks. The black-haired guide says that there are 10 ranks. Kino, Kinoto, Hino, Hinoto, Tsuchino, Tsuchinoto, Kano, Kanoto, Muzuno, and Muzanoto. Right now, you are all at the bottom rank of Mizunoto. Kind of interrupting, the boy with the mohawk says, "Where's my katana?" He is then instructed that they will all choose their ore for the sword and that it will take up to 2 weeks until the katana is finished. Then now they get assigned a kusagai crow. All of a sudden, birds start flying from the air. One lands on Tanjiro, one lands on the girl's arm. The yellow-haired boy gets a sparrow, and then the hasty guy who's fixated on a sword smacks his crow. The black-haired guide says that the crows are generally used for communication, but not always. Mohawk boy gets mad, says, "I don't care about the crows." Grabs a white-haired selection guide, says, "Katana, I want my katana, and I want it now." Tanjiro steps in, angry, and grabs the Mohawk boy's arm. "Let go of this child. If you don't, I will break your arm." Mohawk boy says, "Yeah, just you try it." And then you hear a big crunch. The black-haired girl with the butterfly just doesn't seem to care about what's going on. Then you see a shocked face out of the yellow-haired boy. I want to actually backtrack a bit. There was actually a panel that I missed showing Mohawk boy punching the selection guide first and then grabbing the hair. I just assumed that that was the initial grab, but it actually was not. What led me to believe this is that the panel where Tanjiro is standing in front of the guide, you see blood trickling down the guide's mouth, and then the one eye that got punched showing some shading, implying that's the location where. So normally how I do this is I read the manga first, take down some notes on the topics I want to talk about, and then I come up here to record, and then I read through it again. So everything's kind of fresh in my mind. But one thing that I was confused about is why was there blood trickling down from the guide's mouth? And I was sitting here like, man, how does that just happen if he just grabs the hair? I was kind of confused. So I'm glad I kind of backtracked and figured that out. The guy with the black hair. "Are you done talking? Then come over here. Please choose your ore for making your katana." Mohawk boy does not attack this guide and shows a panel for each of the 4 survivors and then cuts back to a building and then a man sitting outside the building saying 5 survived. Excellent. My children have increased in number again. I wonder what kind of swordsman they will be. And that is the end of chapter 8. So while it's still fresh, I wanted to talk about the very last page where this man holding a crow said that 5 survived, which is odd because only 4 are shown to have passed. So that leaves you to wonder who is the 5th person that passed. Nor were they a part of this ore selecting and crow giving process. Another line of text from this man: "My children have increased in number again." And having similar hairstyle to the selection guides kind of implies that this is the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. Because why else would he be referring to these new recruits as his children? So let's talk about the incident with Mohawk Boy and the selection guy. I'm going to spoil one thing for you. Is honestly never addressed again, but I just wanted to call this out. This boy was not punished for assaulting this final selection guide. Another thing that I find odd is that why did the black-haired guide not try to protect or intervene the white-haired selection guide, which looked like to be his twin? I have an answer for that, but I cannot say it right now. I can address that in a later volume. But for now, with the information that we have, it is a mystery. Next incident I wanted to talk about was the hand demon's backstory. As it went through his backstory, so as this person was scared in nature and wanted someone to hold his hand to feel comfortable, that whole premise led to his entire demon transformation. That was a big part of his human life, and it got carried over into his demon form, even though he has no memory of it. So this is the first time we get to see stuff through a demon's perspective. As it seems now, they have no memory of their past life, and the hand demon only got these flashbacks as he was dying. This will be a trend throughout the series. This was just the first example of it. And then we have another example of Tanjiro smelling emotions. He smelled sadness from the hand demon as it was disintegrating, leading him to showing kindness towards him even though he was a demon, even though he did much harm to his master Urikadaki and the other students of his. Chapter 9. Welcome back. We get a very exhausted Tanjiro. "I was too optimistic. During the final selection, I encountered 8 demons, but I was not able to talk to any of them. They all rushed in to kill me. I never got to ask how to return demons to human form. I'm sorry, Nezuko. I'm so sorry." Okay, so this is where I intervene. Tanjiro was only shown slaying the 2 demons in the beginning of the final selection and then the hand demon. So while out of panel, he killed 5 more demons. So Tanjiro's kill counter is now at 8. As Tanjiro tries to make his way to Urikadaki's, he made it just before sunset. With Urikadaki's home in sight, the door suddenly bursts off and there comes Nezuko walking out. Tanjiro says, "Ah, Nezuko, you're awake." Nezuko sees him, runs over, and hugs him. They have a heart-to-heart moment. Tanjiro's crying. "Why did you fall asleep like that? Why didn't you wake up for so long? I thought you might die." Then all of a sudden, you have Urokodaki hugging both of them. "You came back to us alive." One thing to note here too is that Urokodaki is crying, and it's shown going down the side of his face. 15 days later, Tanjiro hears some bells, goes out the door, and says, "Is that Urokodaki?" We then see a man with a very big hat with bells hanging down the sides. This man's Hawori looks like either a representation of sunflowers or a representation of the sun. This man approaches Tanjiro. "I am called Hazuka Nezuka. I am the one who forged Tanjiro Kamado's katana." Tanjiro says, "I am Tanjiro. Please come inside." Without going inside, he drops down and starts unboxing the package. This is a Nichiren sword, ignoring everything Tanjiro's saying. The iron, sand, and ore that are the materials for the Nichiren sword are gathered at the mountain closest to the sun. It is never cloudy and rain never falls. The sun shines all year on Mount Yoku. Still ignoring Tanjiro, we then get Urokodaki with a thought bubble, saying, as usual, he does not listen to what anyone says. Once he finally acknowledges Tanjiro, he jolts up and looks at him. "Oh, you're a child of brightness. What luck." He then says, "Your hair and eyes are reddish. Houses who work with fire have such children. Be happy for your good fortune. That means your sword may turn red." Once inside, he says, "Go on, draw your sword." Tanjiro unsheaths it, and Hazuka Nezuka tells him that the Nichiren swords are color-changing katanas. Their color changes depending on who is holding them. As Tanjiro's blade starts to turn color, you get Urokodaki and Hazuka Nezuka both saying black. Tanjiro, seeing their reactions, kind of startled. Is black bad? Is it unlucky? Urokodaki says no, it is not, but jet black is rarely seen. Hazuka Nezuka seems let down because he really wanted to see a bright red blade. He then starts attacking Tanjiro. Tanjiro says, "Please calm down, how old are you?" And he responds at 37. During this attack on Tanjiro, a crow appears. "Tanjiro Kamado, you must head to a town to the north. As a demon hunter, this is your first job." I want to pause. The text literally says, "as a demon hunter." I thought this was demon slayer. Maybe another translation problem? Probably. The crow continues, "Go and beware. In this northern town, young girls are disappearing night after night." We see a boy and a girl walking. Girl disappears, and only her shoes and bag are left behind. That is the end of chapter 9. So with me trying to map out like where each of these places are located, like all the different mountains, I'm trying to evaluate how far they are apart from each other based on how many days that Tanjiro took to go from one place to another. So based on what we were shown, it kind of implied that it was a one-day travel from Urokodaki's place to the final selection site. And I think that this is actually really important. So if it was a one-day journey from the Kamado family house to Urokodaki's place, which are adjacent mountain regions, as stated, then it is probably considered an adjacent mountain region from Urokodaki's place to the final selection. Now, here's where it gets funky. We don't know what direction it was. So is Urokodaki's place in the center of the Kamado family residence and the final selection? Or did the locations kind of make like a triangle shape where it's like a one-day travel to each location? I am led to believe that both Urokodaki's place and the Kamado residence are both a day's travel from the final selection site. And here is why. We get Old Man Saburo, the one who took Tanjiro in for the night, say that there are demons lurking around. We get context from Tanjiro that his family was killed, and the assumption is that demons killed them. We even get context from Tanjiro saying that his grandma once said that demons exist. So here is why all three locations to me, I think, are a day apart. Assuming that Tanjiro's grandma lived around the same area as the current Kamado residents, it's not unlikely that they traveled near the final selection site or the mountainside where this final selection was being held. And so demons could have either escaped or be nearby, kind of creating a higher chance for them to have exposure to demons versus if this final selection site was not there in the first place. Stated that there's wisteria trees all around the perimeter of the final selection site, but doesn't mean that there aren't going to be any holes. I'm sure that there's going to be a spot where a demon can slip through. We are also shown that demons can also survive in this place, consuming 30 plus humans, like the hand demon. So who's to say that there's not another demon in there and can just withstand going through the small bit of pain going through the wisteria and escape? This did not come to me at all until I started trying to piece together where all these locations are just based on everything. So I thought that this was a really cool detail to know. Another key note I wanted to re-emphasize, the materials that the Nichiren swords are made from. They're made from scarlet iron sand and scarlet iron ore. There are never any clouds, nor does it ever rain. These materials only absorb sunlight. I also wanted to touch on how I believe that demons have enhanced sense of smell. So as Tanjiro was approaching Yurikadaki's household, the only visible windows that were shown were the side where the front door was on. Tanjiro was approaching from the side, so no one could see Tanjiro, so it's not like he was visible from the windows. I personally think that Nezuko could sense that Tanjiro was there based on the smell. She might not have realized that it was Tanjiro, but that it was a familiar smell. She kicked down the door, and which is also why she looked surprised to see Tanjiro and rushes over to him. And the last thing before we go to the next chapter, I find it kind of funny that as soon as Tanjiro touches his blade, it changes black. His crow then steps in and says, "Hey, here's your first mission. Let's go." So he has no time to process this information. He just has to go on his first mission. Talk about work to the bone. Chapter 10, Kidnapper's Bog. We get some information about the Nichiren swords. They change color depending on the bearer and that each color has distinct characteristics. However, very few people have black swords, so many details are unknown. So unknown that it is said that unsuccessful swordsmen have black blades. I also wanted to note too that after Tanjiro took his bandages off at Yurikadaki's, the mark on his forehead has transformed. It changed into a jagged and more distinct scar. As Tanjiro is investigating the town that he was sent out to, he's reflecting on words from Yurikadaki. Demon Slayer corpse uniforms are made from a special fabric. It breathes easily and resists both water and flame. Even the claws and fangs of lesser demons cannot rend this corpse uniform. And also, he gives Tanjiro a box. It is a box for carrying his sister during the day. He made it from incredibly light wood called Kirikamo cedar. He also coated it with black lacquer to harden the exterior. And it's also stronger than a normal box. He also has speculation on Nezuko. He believes that instead of eating flesh of humans, that Nezuko uses sleep to replenish her strength. As Tanjiro is walking through this town, he notices a boy that is distraught. He then hears some people gossiping, saying how Kazumi was with Satoko when she disappeared. The gossipers also fear the night because girls keep disappearing, and then speculate that when night comes again, will another girl disappear. Tanjiro shouts, "Kazumi, I would like to speak with you, if I may." He shows Tanjiro where the girl disappeared and says that you will not believe me. But Tanjiro does and says that I absolutely believe you, truly. He gets down on the ground and he can smell the faint odor of demon remains, but it's uneven and unusual. Kazumi kind of confused, thinking, who is this kid and what the heck is he doing? We then get flashbacks from Kazumi with a rough altercation with whom I believe is the father of the girl that disappeared. Night falls and we are shown a girl getting ready for bed, thinking, I wonder what happened to those girls. And she hopes that they're all right. And then as she is asleep, we see hands come up from the floor, grab her mouth, and then take her into the darkness. In the meantime, Tanjiro with Kazumi just starts running off. He has smelled the demon. We then see Tanjiro jump from the ground to a roof of a second-story building and then goes in pursuit. Once he finds the location of the scent, he notices that there are two different scents, one of a demon and one of a human woman. He's getting the scent from the ground and then stabs it. All of a sudden, the black emerges and up comes a woman. Tanjiro grabs her, and there from the darkness comes out a demon with black hair, 3 horns on his head, and creepy-ass looking black eyes. We then get a flashback from Tanjiro again with Yurikadaki. Demons that use special powers known as the Blood Demon Art has supernatural abilities. Sometimes you may have to fight a demon like that. And then Tanjiro realizes that this demon has supernatural abilities. Tanjiro asks where are the girls that he has kidnapped, and then to tell him about, and then gets interrupted by some horrible teeth grinding. Okay, so here's where I'm going to talk about teeth grinding and how obnoxious it is. My mom grinds her teeth in her sleep, and apparently I inherited that gene, and I grind my teeth at night too. My wife once recorded me sleeping one time when I was grinding my teeth, and it was awful. I actually grind my teeth so bad at night that I have chips in my teeth, like right where the gums meet the tooth. There's like a chip indentation on all my teeth that are kind of like V-shaped. Your teeth are kind of like round going up to the gums. And for mine, right when they get close to the gums, there's just like a V-shaped. I've tried mouth guards before and the dog chewed up. And apparently the insurance I had literally only covered once per lifetime. so I have not been able to get another set. The teeth chattering continues, and this demon sinks into the ground. Tanjiro tells Kazumi to take the girl and that he's going to protect them. Tanjiro can sense that the demon is coming towards him, and then three of the same demon come up. Tanjiro uses 8th form, Waterfall Basin. And that is the end of the chapter. We do get some Taisho whispers and rumors, stating 3 men have asked Toki to marry them, and that she is an excellent cook. This was never stated, but Toki is the girl that was just recently taken from the swamp demon that Tanjiro saved from her, that Tanjiro took out of the swamp demon's possession. So there was a lot of good information here at the beginning of the chapter. We learned specifically about the Nichiren blades, that the color changes based on the bearer and that each color has certain characteristics, and that the details of the black blade are unknown since not many people have black blades. We also learned that the Demon Slayer uniforms are fire and water resistant and can even protect from attacks of weaker demons. Another very important context that we get from Yurikadaki, he believes that Nezuko gets strength from sleeping instead of eating humans. This next bit is slightly coincidental, but I wanted to call it out nonetheless. We get a panel where Tanjiro jumps from the ground to the 2nd story building's rooftop. Okay, so if we just kind of go off the basis that a ceiling is like 8 foot tall, you got all the stuff in between the floors and then another 8-foot room, and then you add the rooftop and then like the pitch going upwards. So with that said, I'm going to just roughly call a 2-story building 20 feet tall. Does that number ring a bell? If you said that that was roughly the height of the cliff that I called out that Tanjiro fell from in the beginning of the story, well then you'd be correct. So here we get Tanjiro redeeming himself from falling 20 feet. He is shown now jumping up 20 feet. So I guess all the training he did on the mountainside with Yurikadaki paid off. Chapter 11, Suggestion. We get more wisdom from Yurikadaki, saying that only one demon in this world has blood that can turn humans into demons. The one who became the first demon over 1,000 years ago. In other words, Tanjiro. I think that is the demon who killed your family, and I think he knows the way to return your sister's humanity. That demon's name is MUZAN KIBUTSUJI. Cuts back to real time. Tanjiro is beating himself up because he changed his form mid-swing, and he missed all the demon's vital points, and they all go back into the ground. Tanjiro states that all 3 demons smell exactly the same, and that usually demons don't team up, so this must be one demon to split into 3. One suddenly pops up from the ground, and Tanjiro uses 2nd form, Water Wheel. He is unable to finish off the demon, and it slithers away. This clone is different from the original one because this one only has 2 horns. He calls Tanjiro a bastard, and saying not to interfere because he will ruin the girl's freshness. She is 16 years old. She gets less and less tasty with each moment that passes. And then we get the other clone demon from behind him, saying that he must calm down. Another thing to note is that this one has 1 horn. He states that he's eaten quite a few 16-year-olds in this town. They were all meaty and quite tasty. Good enough for me. The 2-horned clone says, well, not good enough for me. I'm still hungry. Kazumi calls him a monster and that he took his girl 2 nights ago. The 1-horned demon says, who is that? And then pulls out a shirt displaying a bunch of hairpins. If her hairpin is among this collection, I've already eaten her. Shows a close-up of a big ribbon, Kazumi crying, and it shows a black panel of a girl wearing the same headband, saying that she is now dead. Tanjiro angered at this point, seeing his siblings and Nezuko. He goes on the offensive and is then attacked by the 3-horned demon. And as a 2-horned demon comes to attack from behind, we see his head spinning. We see Nezuko kick the box open and kick his head, and they question, why is this man carrying a demon? And then we see an angered Nezuko. Flashback to Yurikadaki. It may only help console her, but I placed Nezuko under a suggestion while she was asleep. All humans are your family. Protect humanity. Demons are your enemy. We never forgive demons for the harm that they do. And that is the end of the chapter. We get info on the very first demon that was created, and his name was MUZAN KIBUTSUJI, and that only he has the ability to turn a human into a demon via blood. There was one context from the swamp demon that I wanted to address. It is implied that girls 16 and younger are the ideal food choice of demons as they are more fresh. This is kind of interesting because this is around the time when girls start to become a woman. They get periods, their bodies are changing, more of their hormones are changing, and there's a lot going on within the female body with this age. And it is probably through that body transformation is what makes them tastier, so to speak. So I guess on average, just based on the stuff I'm seeing on the interwebs, women have around 8% more body fat than men. So between the natural biological body fat percentage that women have over men and all the stuff that's going on within the female body at this younger age is probably what makes eating girls 16 and under more tasty to demons. So you guys are going to have to take my word for this next portion. So when the single horn swamp demon pulls out his shirt and shows all the hairpins, I tried to count how many hairpins that he had. So if we can find out how many hairpins that are in his collection of girls that he has consumed, then we can figure out roughly how strong this demon is. So based on previous context from Urokodaki, the more humans that a demon eats, the stronger they get. Just based on the image. And you're just gonna have to take my word for it because they overlap and one could be two. I'm not gonna say something is two when it's only one. So I'm gonna go on the lower end of the spectrum. And with that said, there's roughly 10 hairpins and hair pieces shown in this panel. So with that said, so if we go on the assumption that this swamp demon has only consumed 10 girls, let's compare that to the hand demon. The hand demon has consumed 50 brats. His quote, not mine. So in theory, this swamp demon should be 5 times weaker than the hand demon. But yet it seems to be giving Tanjiro a harder time. The hand demon was not shown to have blood demon arts, but the swamp demon does. And I think that it is consuming girls 16 and younger. This seems to give a little bit of validity to what that two-horned demon said about the girl's age being very tasty. Now, this isn't necessarily like 100% fact because all the people going through the final selection are most likely pretty young. So with the 50 people that the hand demon has consumed, we know of at least one girl that was consumed, and that was Makamo. And going back to chapter 8, while Tanjiro is reflecting on the spirits, we see some of Urokodaki's previous students, and Makamo is the only girl amongst that are shown. And there's only half of Urokodaki's students stated here. As far as we know, the hand demon has only consumed one girl that we know of. So let's just assume he ate basically all males except Makamo. The hand demon was probably just incompetent and weak. It's hard to say because the powers of the demons, their physical appearance, their blood demon arts, is all kind of based off of their human life's characteristics. With the hand demon always wanting to reach out and hold his brother's hand, we have no context on this swamp demon's backstory. He could have only liked girls under 16 and lived in a swamp like Shrek. Who knows? I've been ranting about this for about 15 minutes, and I don't know how much is going to make the actual podcast, but I'm going to stop myself and move on to the next chapter. All right, chapter 12. I can't tell you. We then see Nezuko attack the three-horned demon and tries to chase it away, while Tanjiro says, Nezuko, don't follow it, come back. And as she's running back, she's attacked from the ground again from the other demon. And as she's making her way back, she is then attacked by the one-horned demon. Another flashback from Urokodaki. Nezuko is a demon now, Tanjiro. You must remember that. She isn't weak. She does not need your protection. Tanjiro realizes that he can leave Nezuko to protect Kazumi and the girl, and then he can focus on his attacks. As his thought happens, he is surrounded by the blackness, and he decides to go in. And he decides to go into the darkness and tells Nezuko to protect them. While he's in this mysterious space, he sees a bunch of different articles of clothing. He is then met with the one and three-horned demons. The demons state that there's virtually no air in this bog, and the darkness surrounds you and weighs you down. The other one states that you cannot move like you do above ground. So take that. You should have thought twice about going into this bog. Being circled by these two, Tanjiro's basically saying, bring it. The air atop Mount Sagiri was thinner, and that he knows a technique for generating strength underwater. The two demons start going back and forth at incredible speed. And as they approach, Tanjiro waiting, and then he sees the opening thread. Total concentration, water breathing, 6th form, whirlpool. A spin that becomes larger with the sharp blade, dragging anything around it and cutting it up. Killing these two demons, Tanjiro has to go back to the surface, where Nezuko is fighting the two-horned demon and saying that this woman is strong. She doesn't seem to have any supernatural abilities yet, but she is still quite strong. She must have received a great amount of blood. She moves so fast that I can't submerge it into the bog, stating that any damage that he receives from her, he can just regenerate immediately. As this demon attacks Nezuko, Tanjiro steps in and cuts off his two arms and saying, hands off my sister. We get some bickering between the two of them, and Tanjiro has a sword to his face. the swamp demon on the ground with the sword to his face. Tanjiro's asking, "Tell me about MUZAN KIBUTSUJI." The demon says, "I can't." And the chapter ends. There was only a couple notable things that happened here. One, that water-breathing sixth form whirlpool is good for unstable footing and underwater. And the one thing that was interesting was the swamp demon states that Nezuko does not have any supernatural abilities yet, and that she must have gotten a large amount of blood to be this strong. So with this little bit of context, we get some info on what happened the night that the Kamado family was killed. They weren't just killed. So for at least Nezuko's case, we get Muzan intentionally trying to turn her into a demon. Why? We don't know at this point in the story. But all we know is that he gave her a large amount of blood, and that the more blood you get from Muzan, apparently, you are stronger. Chapter 13. It was you. Here we get a flashback of Muzan and the swamp demon, presumably in the early parts of his demonhood. "You must not speak. You must never tell anyone about me. If you do, I will know immediately. I am always watching you." Cuts back to real time and the swamp demon yelling, "I can't tell you, I can't tell you." Tanjiro smelling his fear, shaking deep down to his bones. And then Tanjiro beheads him. Again, I've learned nothing. He goes back to check on Nezuko, and she is sleeping. He apologizes. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Just give me a little bit more time, because your big brother is going to make you human again." We get Kazumi sitting next to the unconscious girl. Tanjiro approaches. "Kazumi, are you all right? I've lost my betrothed. Do you think I'm all right?" Tanjiro responds, "You may lose again and again, but you will still have to keep living, no matter how beaten down you may be." He quickly responds by grabbing Tanjiro's shirt. "What do you know? You're just a kid." And then we get a soft smile from Tanjiro. Grabs his arm and says, "I'm going now. Here," as he hands him a ripped up piece of cloth that contained all the hairpins of the missing girls. He hopes that he finds the hairpin that she had. He bows and leaves. Kazumi's starting to regret what he said. "Did this happen to you too? Did it? I'm sorry for saying such a mean thing. Please forgive me. I'm sorry." Tanjiro just waves and walks away. Kazumi realizes that those hands are not wretched hands. They're thick and hardened from training in combat. They were not hands of a boy. Instead of being mad at the boy who just insulted him, Tanjiro shows rage towards MUZAN KIBUTSUJI. How many people has he killed? How many more made to suffer? MUZAN KIBUTSUJI, I will never forgive you. And here we get the crow interrupting his thoughts. Next, you go to Asuka in Tokyo. Rumors tell of a demon hiding there. Kaka! 2 days later in Asakusa, Tanjiro overwhelmed and overstimulated. What kind of town is this? It's night, but it's bright out. The buildings are so tall. What the city. He's getting dizzy. Panicking, he goes to somewhere less crowded and finds an udon shop. Overwhelmed and drinking a drink, all of a sudden, he gets a whiff of something. That smell. Why is it here? And bolts off. It was the same smell that was lingering at my house. MUZAN KIBUTSUJI. Running through the crowd, he sees a man wearing a hat, grabs his shoulder with a firm grip. Man turns around. It's him. Starts to pull out a sword, and this man is holding a girl, saying, "Daddy, who's that?" And in complete disbelief, Tanjiro realizes that he is pretending to be a human. This man responds, "Is there anything I can do for you? You appear to be quite upset." The wife comes along. "Oh dear, what's wrong?" In the meantime, Tanjiro's thinking, they're human. The girl and the woman smell completely human. Don't they know? Don't they understand? He's a demon and he eats people. The wife says, "Do you know this boy?" Muzan responds, "No, not at all. What a nuisance. I don't know him at all. Perhaps he has mistaken me for someone else." In the meantime, we see him swing his arm really fast, cuts the neck of a back of a person walking by, and then all of a sudden, this person turns into a demon and then bites the neck of the girl he was with. Tanjiro rushes in to stop it. We get Taisho whispers and rumors. And here we get the gentleman who sold Tanjiro some udon. I won't teach anyone how to make the soup. And that is the end of chapter 13. So we get to meet the big bad creator of demons in this chapter, MUZAN KIBUTSUJI. And it is very important to note that he is impersonating and living among the humans. We learn that he is always watching these demons and that he will know immediately if anyone were to speak his name. It's a little vague, but more will be learned about this later on. Another interesting thing to note is that with hundreds and hundreds of people roaming the streets here at night, Tanjiro is able to sniff out one single person, leading me to think that either the smell of demons is so potent that Tanjiro can sniff it out, or That just shows how excellent his sense of smell is. We get to see a small glimpse of Muzan's power with the speed in which he was able to scratch a bystander and turn him into a demon. The strike was so fast, Tanjiro couldn't even see it. He only saw the transformation. And this is an interesting thing to note here too, is that he is able to transfer his blood through his nails, and that the smallest amount of blood must have been used, because it took Nezuko a really long time to finally become a demon for her transformation, where this random bystander was turned into a demon instantly. Chapter 14, Kibutsuji's Wrath, the Smell of Enchanting Blood. The first panel of this chapter starts in complete chaos as we see this newly transformed demon attacking a woman. Tanjiro rushes in, tackles the new demon, and shoves cloth in his mouth so it doesn't hurt anybody. He instructs the woman who was just attacked to not worry about him and to care for yourself, to put pressure on her wound. We see Muzan's family saying, "Rei, this is dangerous. Let's go away." Tanjiro notices that Muzan is walking away and is put in a tight spot. He cannot let this person go because then the demon would be rampant, but then Muzan will be getting away. Tanjiro looks up and yells, "Muzan Kibutsuji, wherever you go, you won't get away from me." The wife saying, "What's wrong with that boy?" We get a close-up of Tanjiro's earring, and then a panel of a startled Muzan. Tanjiro yelling, "I'll follow you to the depths of hell, and your neck will feel the edge of my sword. I will never forgive you." And we appear to see a flashback of a man holding a sword standing above Muzan with the same Hanafuda earrings. An even more scared look Muzan thinking to himself, those earrings. The police arrived at the scene. "What are you doing? Are they drunk? Break it up." They start directing people to step back and to handcuff Tanjiro. Tanjiro resisting arrest and begging them to not interfere, and that he is the only one who can stop them. We turn the page and we get a very drastic image of an arm that is being scratched with a lot of blood dripping down. Scent of illusionary blood visual dream. Tanjiro quickly notices, what is that smell? We get some people, "Whoa, what is this pattern? I can't see anything." Tanjiro looks up and sees a bunch of flowers as well. Is this some sort of attack? A lady approaches, "You still use the word person for demons, and you try to help them." The lady proceeds to say, "So I shall help you." Tanjiro's like, "Why? You're sent." She quickly intervenes, "Indeed, I am a demon, and also a doctor, and I would also see Kibutsuji obliterated." Cuts back to Muzan's family out of the commotion, and him telling them that he has to go to work. He has some meetings, and that he's also disturbed by what he saw earlier. He wants to talk to the police to keep watch. His family gets taken away in a car, and we see Muzan in an alleyway. Some drunks bump into him, and Muzan, surprisingly pretty calm, and just apologizes. And instead of the drunk walking away from the situation, he proceeds to tell him that he doesn't like his fancy clothes, and that he doesn't like that pale face of his, and that he looks half dead. And then we see a very angry Muzan. We turn the page and we hear a whack. The person slammed up into the wall. We see a very large fellow and a girl saying that his brother was dead. He's not breathing. All of a sudden we see Muzan kicking this large guy straight up in the air with a single kick. Blood splurting out, getting everywhere. Falls to the ground. Walks up to the girl. "Does my complexion look poor to you? Is my face pale? Do I look sickly? Do I look like I'm dying? Does it seem like I don't have long to live? No, 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 no. I'm an entirely different creature." Sticks his finger up against her forehead as she's shaking, and sticks half his finger inside her skull. "Do you know what will happen if I give you a large amount of my blood? The human body cannot withstand the speed of transformation. Your cells will rupture." She turns into a swamp monster and dies. Muzan stands up and snaps his fingers, and two demons appear. "Bring me the head of the demon hunter with the earrings that look like Hanafuda cards." Got it? And that is the end of chapter 14. We get to see a lot of things out of Muzan during this chapter. We get to see him being calm, level-headed. He was bumped by a drunk and just tried to avoid conflict, and he apologized even though he wasn't the one that ran into this person. The other person ran into him. And then he flips like a switch and kills 3 people with a single blow. With this, he seems to act irrational when angered. Another thing about Muzan is that in something as simple as seeing a certain pair of earrings will make Muzan shake down his spine, and gets a flashback of someone who apparently was a threat in his past. And probably the most important thing we learn from him in this chapter is that when he gives blood to someone too fast, it ruptures the human cells and they die. With this context, Nezuko was given a large amount of blood based on what the swamp demons said. So it seems that he gave Nezuko blood multiple times over a course of time compared to giving her a large amount of blood all at once, because this could not happen, because then she would have died immediately. So she had to have been giving blood in increments over time for her body to slowly adjust. And then we see an unnamed female demon approach Tanjiro during all the chaos. It seems that she has the same goal as Tanjiro, and that is to eliminate MUZAN KIBUTSUJI. She also states that he caught her attention because he addressed a demon as a person, which leads me to question whether or not she would have intervened if that was not said. And that would have changed the entire course of the story. So Tanjiro's kindness was actually a very huge factor in the outcome of this whole event. Chapter 15, The Doctor's Opinion. Immediately, we get the udon seller yelling at Tanjiro, saying that this is not about money, and it's more so that you just wouldn't eat my udon. He proceeds to grab the udon and just slurps it all up. Walking away with Nezuko after eating, he apologizes, saying sorry to leave you alone. Tanjiro senses something, and we get Nezuko on the defensive, and we get the female demon sidekick. Tanjiro says, "Were you waiting for me? I could have followed the scent." This demon responds, "We are under a concealment spell, so there's no way you could have traced us. And besides, isn't she a demon? What's more, she's a hag." We get Tanjiro staring blankly. A hag? Does he mean she's ugly? Who? Nezuko? Tanjiro goes on the defensive. She's not ugly. Take a good look at those features. Nezuko was known as the town's beauty. They proceed to go towards their hideout, and Tanjiro not letting up. We get a glimpse of a 2-story building with a talisman on it. They walk in, and Tanjiro still going on the defensive about how she was a hag. And then we see a woman treating the injured. "Welcome back." The woman says, this lady will be all right, but her husband unfortunately had to be put in a cell. Tanjiro says, "Isn't it hard for you to treat people's wounds?" And then gets smacked by this boy. "Are you suggesting that the smell of flesh as we treat humans makes us drool?" The lady intervenes, "Enough. Why are you being so violent? I did not tell you my name. My name is Tamio, and this boy is Yushiro. Thank God I hate referring to people who are unnamed, if you haven't noticed." This boy, this woman, demon, it's been a struggle for me. So I wish they would just say their name right when they're introduced. Rant over. We get Tamio explaining herself. She says that she has altered her body and removed Kibutsuji's curse. Tanjiro confused. And she further explains, "I no longer need to feed on people in order to survive. It is enough to drink just a little bit of human blood. You may think it's disgusting, but we buy blood from people in need of money, telling them it's for blood transfusions. And of course, we never take so much that it causes the human harm." Next, we get a panel with Tanjiro's thoughts. So that's why these people don't have distinctive smell of demons. But they do need human blood. Tamio explains, "Yushiro needs even less blood than I do. I made him a demon." This startles Tanjiro. "You did?" She responds, "Yes. They say that Kibutsuji is the only one who can increase the number of demons, and that is basically correct. In more than 200 years, Yushiro is the only one I was able to do this with." Tanjiro again in shock. "How old are you, Tamio?" And then gets punched by Yushiro immediately. "Don't ask a woman her age, you lout. Yushiro, if you punch him again, I won't forgive you." He says, "All right," and then thinks, "Even her angry face is beautiful." Tamio states, "One thing I don't want you to misunderstand. I'm not trying to increase the number of demons. I only treat people who have an incurable illness or injury so they can live a little longer. And I always ask those patients if they wanted to live longer, if doing so means they will become a demon." Tanjiro is able to smell out that she has no deceit and trusts her. And then he asks Tamio, "Once people have become demons, is there a way to make them human again?" The next panel cuts over to the 2 people who Muzan summoned. We see some crinkled up hands with eyes on the palms and arrows pointing in different directions. A man with a beaded necklace going to the ground sniffing. I can see footprints. That's them. And then a bunch of arrows going in the direction of where they were walking. And they were carrying a large box. Then the girl asks, "How should we kill them?" And that power is flowing within them because they just took blood from that big shot. Cuts back to the hideout. Tameo replies, "A way to turn demons back into humans? It does exist." Tanjiro gets closer. "Please tell me." Yushiro quickly slaps him back, says, "Don't get too close to Tameo." We see a menacing aura around Tameo. "Yushiro? I just threw him. I didn't hit him," he responds. Tameo explains that every injury and illness has a medicine or treatment. However, at present, making a demon human again is impossible. To do so, we need to study lots of demon blood. I want to ask 2 things of you. 1, I want to examine your sister's blood. 2, I want you to get samples from demons with high concentration of Kibutsuji's blood. Right now, Nezuko is in an extremely rare and special condition. I understand she slept for 2 years, and her body must have changed during that time. Usually, if a demon does not ingest human flesh or animal meat for such a long time, it will grow violent without fail. But surprisingly, Nezuko does not have those symptoms. I think this miracle will prove to be the key. The other task will be difficult. A demon with high concentration of MUZAN's blood means a demon of close strength to KIBUTSUJI. It won't be easy to steal blood from such a demon. But will you still try? Tanjiro says if that's the only way to do it, then he will help. Not just for Nezuko, though, but for other people, right? She says yes. All of a sudden, the place is being attacked with what appears to be a ball bouncing back and forth. Taisho whispers and rumors. When you ask Yushiro if he likes Tameo, he turns beet red and goes silent. So we get a lot of intel on Tameo and Yushiro this chapter. We'll talk about Yushiro first. He's very protective of Tameo and even resorting to violence on multiple occasions. He was a demon created by Tameo and requires less blood than her to survive. And based on the Taisho whispers, he appears to have a crush on her. Next, we have Tameo. She requires a small amount of blood in order to survive. And all the blood that she does get from people is stuff that other people are willing to sell for blood transfusions in order to make a little bit of cash. She also states that there are 2 conditions that she needs in order to make a cure for Nezuko. She needs to study Nezuko's blood periodically, and then she also needs blood samples of demons who have higher concentrations of KIBUTSUJI's blood within them. With those 2 factors, she can hopefully create a drug to turn Nezuko back into human. We also get a glimpse of how long she's been working as a doctor, and that's 200 years, and that she's only been able to successfully turn Yushiro into a demon. We'll end my thoughts with a funny one because Tanjiro defends his sister's beauty and does not let it go. Talking about it the entire trip to their hideout. Chapter 16, Playing Tamari. We see the demon girl with a Tamari ball. Just like you said, Yahaba, the buildings appeared where there was nothing before, and the talisman on the building falls off. We get Yahaba saying, seems like they learned to use blood demon art well. And is this the demon slayer with them? What does that mean? But still, Susumaru, the way you do things is childish. Okay, before I move on here, I just want to clarify that the male demon is the one with the eyes in his hands and uses the arrows. The girl, her name is Susumaru, and that she uses these Tamari balls as her attacks. We see things from Tanjiro's side. Susumaru approaches with some Tamari balls and it destroys their household. She throws the balls and they go all over the place, and then all of a sudden one changes trajectory and goes straight for Yushiro's head and takes it off. Tanjiro tells Nezuko to take the injured woman to safety. Tanjiro notices that she smells different, implying that she is the strongest demon that he has encountered, saying that the smell is so intense that it's setting heavy and deep into his lungs. Susumaru then realizes that, hey, this is the demon with earrings that she is sent out to find. Tanjiro willing to protect Tameo, she responds, Tanjiro, don't worry about us, just fight. We'll be fine. And reminds him that they are demons after all. With the ball coming straight for Tanjiro and not much time to act, he's thinking which of the 10 water-breathing forms is the fastest. And then he uses 7th form, drop ripple thrust, implying that that is the fastest water-breathing technique. But the ball continues to move and hits him in the head. And is questioning how did these balls even move? Tameo is still holding Yushiro and his head starts to grow back. Lady Tameo is the first thing he said, saying that they really should not have messed with this demon slayer. His concealment spell is not perfect and that he cannot hide their entire existence entirely, and is scared that KIBUTSUJI is going to find them. I hate when anyone interferes with the time you and I spend together. I really hate it. I will never forgive this. Tanjiro confused, 12 Kizuki? Tameo responds, she directly reports to KIBUTSUJI. All of a sudden, she grows 4 more hands and says, let's keep playing until dawn, when your life ends, and starts throwing the balls. Tanjiro doing his best to evade these attacks, but keeps getting hit. Yushiro then says, hey, you stupid demon slayer, if you look at the arrows, you'll know its direction. Avoid the arrows. Then you can cut off that woman's head. You can do that, right? I'll lend you my sense of sight. Confused, Yushiro throws one of his talismans on his head. And then all of a sudden, Tanjiro can see the arrows and the path that the balls are flying in. Nezuko tries to stop Yahaba, and her kick is blocked. Susumaru not letting up on throwing the balls, and Tanjiro uses water breathing, 3rd form, flowing dance, to start evading them all. Once he does, he yells back to Tameo, are these 2 demons close to KIBUTSUJI? She responds, I believe so. Then I'm gonna get you some of their blood. Tanjiro reaching his hand out, talisman on his head, and sword behind him. And that is the end of the chapter and end of volume 2. We get a glimpse of how quick Yushiro can regenerate, which is relatively fast, which isn't as fast as some of the other demons we've seen, but he still grows it back relatively fast. Yushiro also seems to have an ability where he can see things that cannot be seen by the normal human eye. And the coolest thing is he's able to share this ability with someone he gives a talisman to. So I wanted to look up some of the history of Tamari balls. Because in the manga, the only description we get of a Tamari ball is the fact that they're just made from leftover kimonos. So I guess the history on these is that they used to be toys, but then they started becoming decorations. Then they were used for decorative folk art. They were given as gifts and had some symbolism to them. They're given out as New Year's gifts and have symbolism to living a blessed life, loyalty, friendship, etc. And some of the cultural significance of these in Japanese culture is kind of representing traditional craft, personal affection, and artistic expression. So that is all I have for this podcast. So if you've listened all the way to the end, go ahead and pat yourself on the back. And I personally want to thank you for continuing to support this newer podcast series of mine. I personally really enjoyed doing it, and I've learned so much already that I have already overlooked, and hopefully you have as well. With that said, look forward to the next podcast coming here within the next couple weeks, where we cover Volume 3. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.